If someone were to ask me what the oddest industry to work in is, I wouldn't hesitate to say entertainment. If you get a 9-to-5 desk job as something like an analyst or an accountant, no matter how the industry may progress, you will still be pulling from the same skill set, and with your experience, you'll very likely be able to get a similar job elsewhere. In comparison, entertainment is constantly shifting in what is popular and what it looks for in the people working in it. Whether it be with something as superficial as looks, or something as unpredictable as pop culture preferences, the media industry is a fickle place to look for stability in, let alone navigate and morph along with. And considering that YouTube has become somewhat of a microcosm of the Hollywood environment, it's even rarer to find someone here that's able to keep up with the turbulence of change. In fact, off the top of my head, I can only think of one person who has managed to do so in a very prolific manner, and that would be the subject of this video, Steven Suptic, or as his fans lovingly call him, Rat Boy. Suptic is no stranger to the internet, seeing as he's been on the platform for almost a decade, where he started off by creating a channel named MLG Haunt, I think that's how you pronounce it, on which he did Halo montages and played the most storied game that YouTube has to offer, Minecraft. He did so for roughly 3 years and managed to amass a very solid following while collaborating with some other high-profile creators, the most prominent being Sky Does Minecraft. He gained such a quickly expanding fan base, in fact, that he was scooped up for a gaming show with Raina Scully on Philip DeFranco's B-Tech BuzzFeed, SourceFed. Due to a bit too much ambition, however, the company reached an untimely closure, which led to his next and arguably most successful venture, Sugar Pine 7. SP7 was a mixture of vlogging and improv comedy that took the platform by storm, as they won Show of the Year at the Streamies in 2017, which was the first year that the channel was even up. It went on for roughly 2 years until, unfortunately, as all things do, the series ran its course, ending in the summer of 2019. This didn't keep Steve down for long though, as he picked up consistent streaming in the summer of 2020, which has led him to become a very prominent streamer on Twitch with 239,000 followers and a member of the popular morning lobby curated by Hafu. Oh, and also he is genuinely the best YouTube musician, although that seems kind of like an insult, because he definitely doesn't fit in with the standard mold of that phrase. He's currently releasing music under the pseudonym Sugar, bringing an incredible, unique, brilliant sound to a platform that desperately needs it. So that brings us to where we are today. Now, what's the theme for this video, you ask? Well, it's the aspect that I think has made Steve such a brilliant creator over the past decade, and that is his adaptability. I know that is an attribute that most people obtain if they stay on the website long enough, but there's a key component to the way he does so that managed to stick out to me. And that is the fact that he has never managed to lose himself. As you've seen while going through his history on this site, he has immersed himself in dramatically different sectors, which can often lead to a creator changing their personality significantly. Don't get me wrong, I don't fault people who do this, as sometimes it happens because of natural progression, and other times it happens because the creator is attempting to assimilate into the atmosphere of their newfound genre. That being said, I find it very impressive when someone can traverse so many different landscapes and not once cave into the standard that the community sets, yet still manages to find immense success. The best example that I can come up with to describe this is undoubtedly Sugar Pine 7. When it first came out, although it had the basic structure of a vlog, it was very unlike anything else that the genre had seen. The addition of a more storyline-oriented structure was so innovative that people were genuinely befuddled on what the videos even were. And generally, being different in a genre of monotony can either end up in great success or great failure. So it's commendable that the project fell under the former as opposed to the latter. In correlation, the same idea applies to Steve's time on SourceFed. As I previously mentioned, the channel was essentially a knock-off BuzzFeed and carried a very similar aesthetic to it, which can be described as just neutered and kind of boring content. Yet, there was a somewhat different aura with Steve that kind of sums up what the main idea of this video is attempting to portray. Although he stayed inside the conventions of the type of content SourceFed was producing, he still managed to insert his own brand of humor and make it work within said confines. Also, he maintained his place as a cog within the greater part of a machine, the machine being the cast of SourceFed as a whole, and avoided making the video he was participating in solely about himself, all the while establishing his identity enough to make himself a prominent figure. And if you think about it, this is the kind of thing that Steve has flourished in doing throughout his entire career. From Minecraft to SourceFed to SV7 to Twitch, he's always been surrounded by other creators, and he manages to find unique ways to play off his counterparts while not straying from his own identity and sense of humor. This is incredibly prevalent in his newest chapter on Twitch during the whole Among Us movement, where he found himself as a staple in the Hafu morning lobby. Hafu has even been on record saying that she will always have a place reserved for Steve. The reason for this, or at least the reason from my perspective, is exactly what I just mentioned. While I was working a shift from 7 to 11 in the morning for my job, I would always have an earbud in and listen to the morning lobbies play. So I think I have a good enough idea to make the sweeping statement that I'm about to make. Hafu cycles through a lot of different people for her lobby, and I haven't seen a single person come through that Steve wasn't able to riff with in a way that makes both parties look equally funny. And keep in mind, there are a lot of people who have passed through the morning lobbies that come from completely different communities that have very different atmospheres to them. It's almost like if you dropped him in the middle of any random video or stream, he would manage to pick up on the vibe and adhere to it perfectly. Heck, you can even see that in his music, as the majority of musicians who are based off of social media fall into the rap genre, as that is undoubtedly the cool thing to do at the moment. In contrast, Steve puts out music that is akin to bedroom indie pop reminiscent of acts such as Wallows, or even more polished and older acts like Fleetwood Mac, who he just so happened to cover in a song that is currently my alarm in the morning. Once again, he's carving a niche out for himself and adding a specific and unique oomph to a specific place that definitely needs it. Now, I think I know the reason for this, and it has directly to do with a specific passion of Steve's that his newer audience may not be keen on. In a recent clip I watched, he exclaimed that he would absolutely love it if A24, the most popular film distributor company in the business that I may or may not have a hat of, would sponsor him, which brought me to a small revelation. Of course he's good at managing and meshing with different personalities. He's literally a director. Sugar Pine 7 was, whether they want to admit it or not, a long-standing television show with a multitude of different co-stars, recurring characters, and cameos coming through a revolving door. Among Us is a game that generally requires 10 people. SourceFed is just a coalition of creators, and the Minecraft community has always been known as a more group-oriented entity. As a film major myself, the one skill that I think is the most essential to the trade of filmmaking is the ability to be the glue of the entire cast and crew through finding common ground and getting to know every single person, thus catering to a cohesive environment. As I mentioned, I'd be hard-pressed to say that's not exactly what Steve has been doing his entire time on YouTube. To make a sports analogy, he reminds me very much of Stephen Curry. He knows how to make himself the focal point and be very efficient in doing so, but he's also aware enough to set the people around him up for their own moments in the spotlight. Hopefully that makes sense to the 10% of my audience that watches basketball. There's even a recent clip where one of the main members of the Hafu lobby, Koji, directly states that Steve had helped him come out of his shell more, and there are many other clips out there that share the same sentiment. There's just a certain magnetism about him that he's carried around with him for almost a decade, as he has managed to succeed in every single venture that he has explored, to my knowledge, across a variety of platforms and mediums nonetheless. The amount of genres he has managed to ebb and flow his way through in a masterful way is unprecedented, but it matches up with the manner in which most of the successful social media mainstays carry themselves. Evolution is a constant, but it is imperative that one never loses themselves in said evolution. And in the case of our beautiful little rat boy, I truly don't think that he ever could.
I'm going to let you guys in on the biggest secret. Depression is a choice.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel, that would be nifty. Don't have to though if you don't want to. Thanks to my patrons, Carl McGee and Weston Katecki. The link to my Patreon as well as my Twitter are in the description right now. You can go check them out if you want to. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.